We are familiar with the likes of Ted Bundy, Ed Kemper, etc., and are afraid of their past actions. But these people aren't the threat because they cannot harm anyone anymore. We need to be afraid of the serial killers who commit horrendous crimes but were never caught. Today, we bring you 3 killers from the FBI's most wanted list. One has a plot twist at the end, so stay tuned. Santiago Italba Mederos. Born on June 5, 1991, Mederos is an alleged murderer and gang member from the state of Washington. He was just an 18-year-old teenager when he started committing heinous crimes all over Washington back in 2010. He has a tattoo of the letter S on his left shoulder and a tattoo of the letter E on his right shoulder. On February 7, 2010, Mederos and 6 other gang members from the ELS were out driving a stolen van through Tacoma, Washington, in search of rival gang members. They were after the gang in retaliation for a shooting that had occurred 2 days earlier in which an ELS member was badly wounded. They came across 20-year-old Camille Love and her brother, 19-year-old Josh Love. Camille was driving while Josh was in the passenger seat of the vehicle. They had just left a family dinner and were driving to a friend's house. The siblings stopped at a traffic light. It was unfortunate that Josh was wearing a red coat, and red was the color associated with the ELS's rival gang. Mistaking Josh for a rival gang member, Mederos and at least one other gang member opened fire into the vehicle. They fatally shot Camille and seriously wounded Josh. Josh was shot twice, hit in the arm and on his side. Neither Josh nor Camille was associated with any gang. On March 25, 2010, Mederos ransacked another car in an apparent robbery in a South Tacoma alley. They suspected the owner of the car owed the gang money. The duo then got into a fight with 3 other men who confronted them. Mederos shot at the group of people as he fled on foot and fatally shot 25-year-old Saul Lucas Alfonso. Just like Camille and Josh, Lucas was not associated with any gang. Innocent blood was spilt, and the rival gang members weren't even hurt. The leader of the ELS, Juan Zuniga Gonzalez, was blamed for the murders, and he was later killed by his own gang members who were unhappy with his leadership. Mederos and fellow ELS gang member Richard Charles Sanchez are still on the run. According to the FBI, Mederos is believed to have fled to Mexico after the murders. He is charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, first-degree conspiracy to commit murder, and unlawful possession of a firearm. He is on the FBI's most wanted list, and a reward of $100,000 has been offered for information that leads to the arrest and extradition of Mederos. Robert William Fischer. On the morning of April 10, 2001, an explosion ripped through the home of a 40-year-old churchgoer and outdoorsman Robert William Fischer of Scottsdale, Arizona. It burst into flames, and inside, firefighters found the bodies of a 38-year-old wife, Mary, 12-year-old daughter, Brittany, and 10-year-old son, Bobby. Based on the physical evidence, police deduced that the previous night, Roberts waited for his family to go to sleep. He then shot Mary in the back of the head, slit her throat, and then Brittany's and Bobby's. He then disconnected the house's furnace from the gas connection and used a candle to rig the house to explode the next morning, detonating hours after he left town. More gasoline was placed in the bedrooms to ensure the crime scene would be destroyed. Investigators believe that Robert is a man with many faces. Although he appeared to be a loving father and husband, the marriage was difficult from the start. Mary claimed that he was controlling and authoritative, that they argued frequently, and that he often yelled and screamed at Brittany and Bobby. The marriage almost ended a few years earlier when he confessed that he had an STD and that he was having an affair. Mary kicked him out, and he sought solace at his favorite hunting grounds. However, a few days later they reconciled and agreed to counseling at their church. Fischer was devoted to the church and very religious. However, he perhaps became insecure when he consistently questioned Mary's involvement with the church's pastor. Prior to the murders, Mary told a friend that she was thinking about divorcing Robert. On the night before the murders, they were heard arguing just after returning home for Brittany's induction into the Junior Honor Society ceremony. Police believe that Robert's motive was an imminent divorce, because he didn't want to put Brittany and Bobby through what he had went through with his parents' divorce. 2 weeks after the murders, authorities thought they had Robert cornered in a small cave near Payson, Arizona, after Mary's SUV and their dog, Blue, were spotted by a camper. However, a special sewer camera found no trace of him there, and now they believe the SUV was left as a red herring to help him escape. A further search of the area turned up no trace of him. Some believe that Robert committed suicide. He told friends that when Mary kicked him out, he had gone to the woods and contemplated suicide. They suspected that he may have gone through with it after the murders. However, others, including the police, believe that he is alive and has created a new identity. He has been indicted for the murders of his family. Since June 2002, Robert has been added to the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list with a $100,000 reward for information leading to his capture. Police have followed hundreds of leads but have found no trace of him. In 2004, authorities acted on a tip, and the Royal Mounted Canadian Police arrested an individual in British Columbia, Canada, who bore an uncanny resemblance to Fischer. However, the individual was released after the fingerprints were found not to be a match. There was no evidence they were ever connected to Fischer. In 2016, age progression photos of him were released. The FBI received several tips as a result of the photos, and the hunt with John Walsh airing. However, it is not known if any credible evidence came from these tips. On November 3, 2021, Fischer was removed from the FBI's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list, but remains at large. Yasser Abdel. This one is a really tragic case, and definitely not for the weak-hearted people. Residents of Irvine, Texas were left shocked when Amina and Sarah Said were found bloodied and shot to death inside a taxi in 2008. Although the police initially suspected outside interference, evidence soon revealed a sinister truth that hit closer to home. Amina, 18, and Sarah, 17, lived in the city of Irvine with their parents, Patricia and Yasser Said. Their father had come over to the United States from Egypt in the 80s. The teenagers were brilliant in their academics and were athletes and honor students at Louisville High School. They were pretty popular among their community as well as their school, and those who knew the girls described them as lively and joyful individuals. Amina and Sarah also had high ambitions for their future, and their untimely deaths is tough to accept even to this day. On January 1, 2008, a passerby noticed an abandoned taxi parked at the entrance of what was then the Omni Mandalay. However, he was greeted by a horrifying sight. The inside of the car was covered in blood. Upon closer inspection, he also noticed two unresponsive girls and immediately informed the police. When first responders reached the crime scene, they found Sarah and Amina lying inside the car after being shot multiple times. They were both completely bloody, and it did not take long for medical examiners to declare the two young girls dead. The inside of the car, including the seats, steering wheel, and everything, was covered in the girls' blood, and an autopsy later determined that death was caused due to multiple bullet wounds. It was later found that Yasser frequently abused and threatened his two daughters. After Amina refused an arranged marriage with an older man, Yasser was enraged. Amina had a boyfriend, and they were planning on running away together. On New Year's Day in 2008, Yasser lured his daughters into his cab by telling them he was taking them out to lunch. He shot both of them in the back of his cab. Yasser was put on the FBI's Most Wanted list on December 4, 2014. After years of searching, police ultimately caught up with the father of two in August of 2020 and indicted him on capital murder charges. However, the case is still pending in court, and at present, Yasser remains in the custody of the Texas police. At least some good came out of that wretched year. Do you think the FBI will ever be able to catch the other two fugitives? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and also subscribe to our channel for your regular dose of whodunits. See you in the next one. Until then, stay safe, stay warm, and don't get any crazy ideas.